So while Sarah and Christy were on their adventure and having a small vacation, I was learning how to rough it in San Diego. I had decided I wanted to couch surf. We got rid of our apartment and we wanted to get our life started. I decided to couch surf. I either stayed with my daughters, one on Camp Pendleton, the other one in San Marcos, which is quite a bit of a drive from where I worked in UTC, or I would go camping out in the middle of nowhere, or I would sleep on a couch sometimes at work. I did all my cooking at work, but it was pretty boring. Meanwhile, Christy and Sarah were experiencing some newbie issues. Let's let her tell you about them.
Headache number 1. The day before, we drove through Yellowstone National Park from Montana down into Wyoming. We decided to stay at our first Walmart overnight in Cody, Wyoming. Fantastic place to stop there. Plenty of other RVers camping out overnight, so we weren't alone. It was super quiet all night long, except for bright and early in the morning, the street cleaners were coming through their parking lot, which I've learned since then that Walmarts usually have a street sweeper who comes through and cleans in the morning. So we woke up the next morning and we started getting everything ready to go. We started bringing in the slides, and my main slide would not come all the way in. It was about 2 to 3 inches shy of coming all the way in, and it was really straining. It was having a really hard time. Called Heartland to find things out. They told me to go ahead and call RV sales places that have a service department and that any of them could do it. And so I called, it must have been over a dozen different places, and every single one told me that they could not service a Heartland. They could only service Keystones. So I called them back and I told them that they need to find the place because I was just not having any luck cold calling. So they called me a few minutes later and they found a place about 30 minutes away over in Powell, Wyoming. And so we drove out there, and as soon as we got there, Arrowhead RV was able to look at my rig right away, and they were so sweet, so kind. They understood that I was really focused on just getting back on the road as quickly as possible. I was planning on being in Livingston for a while, so they were just trying to figure out what was wrong with it and then try and make everything right from there. What happened was that my slide was misaligned by about an inch. And what happened was over in the corner of the slide, the rubber that protects the rain from coming in and everything was wrapping around the a screw up in there, this huge giant screw. And so they went ahead and they cut the little portion that was getting wrapped around, and they said that it would be fine. I'm still waterproof and everything, but that I do need to get my slide into a service department to get fixed, to get realigned in its proper position. But they said I'd be fine until I got down to Livingston. So that's what we did. That was headache number 1.
I usually just draw arrows. Out and in. And I want you to be able to practice this warm-up not as a warm-up, but I want you to practice this like not just every time, because hopefully you're already playing it every time, but use it as one of your like focus homework assignments. I want you to have practice doing it confidently, fluidly. So you'll have plenty of time to practice this. And the only other thing for your homework, number 2, is your performance book, page 11. Oh, I lied. There's one more. But first write this one down. Performance book, page 11. That should be school bells. That was page 11. Yeah. Glad I heard you say 7. Number 3 is theory. Okay.
Headache 2. We had just gotten into Colorado and we were just passing Loveland. I was on a freeway with a lot of traffic. A trucker behind me caught my attention with flashing of lights, and I'm looking back and I'm seeing this black smoke just pluming out of the back of the trailer, and I'm like, oh my god. So didn't know what was really wrong. I knew it couldn't have been my engine, so it had to be a tire, and we were just a few feet from an exit, so I didn't want to stop on the freeway, so I pulled off on that first exit, and then we waited for 4 hours for Progressive to get roadside assistance out to me to put my spare on for me so that I could get down to Discount Tire, who was fantastic. We got to them just within like the last few minutes before they closed that night, and they went ahead and they changed out the tire. So we stayed in another Walmart right there in Loveland that night. Number 3. 2 days after we replaced the blown out tire, we were parked in another Walmart overnight, and we woke up the next morning to find a screw in the side of the tire. Not up on the top of the tire, but in the side of the tire. So we had someone come out and put our spare back on, and we drove next door to the tire shop, and it was the same tire that we had replaced. We had to get it replaced again, and we got it replaced, and then we were on our merry way. This leaves me with headache number 4. Sarah and I were driving along, I don't even know where, to be honest, and we were getting really, really hungry. We didn't eat breakfast. We were just waiting to get on the road and get moving. We thought we'd see a place, and we didn't for a long time, and she found somewhere on the phone, and so we went to go park around in this area like we usually do. We parked along in the parking spots, and we were pulling into that parking spot to do this, and there were a bunch of low-hanging branches from trees. I didn't realize, I thought the trees would be high enough. They weren't. We were running into them, and so I pulled myself out of there. We left. I didn't realize anything had happened until later. We're still driving down the road, and I look in my rearview mirror, and something just doesn't look right with the rig. And so I pull over, and those low-hanging branches were strong enough to actually completely push my awning over a little bit. The arms were bent and pushed over, and apparently it scratched the side of the rubber roof. So just like that tire, that because the nail the screw was in the side of the tire, I had to replace the whole tire. A roof is the same way. If I had gotten scratches on the top of the roof, it would have been a patch job. But because it was on the edge of the roof, I had to have my entire roof replaced. Headache number 4.
That's quite a lot to happen in the first month of owning the RV, but we've since learned that that's pretty common. I was feeling super confident, like my confidence level was like way up here when I'm hearing about these issues with my wife and my daughter out on the road thousands of miles away from me, and I have no way to help. My life was peaceful.
If you enjoyed this episode, please click like below. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the Local Pond RV Living. And don't forget to click that bell so that you get notifications of new videos being published. See you next time.